Okay, the invocation prayer. I am the presence of pure being, emanating the Holy Spirit of light, love, and wisdom. I am all that God is expressing at the heavenly point of me. As I express divine wisdom, all thoughts of worldly limitation have no power over me. I am the substance and power of pure love, bringing into manifestation my world according to divine law. Okay, if you'd like to turn to hymn number 1 in the hymnal. Sunday, January 29, 2023. I broaden my perspective on prosperity. When I think of prosperity, I may think of financial wealth or my possessions. I may even feel tempted to compare my life to someone else's and feel as though I come up short in comparison. Today, my understanding of prosperity grows, feeling safe and secure in who I am in prosperity, knowing I am gloriously made in the image of God is priceless. Realizing the abundance of the natural world and partaking of it as a gift. All of these are wonderful reminders I reside in the kingdom of heaven. The more I appreciate the riches of the material world, the more aware I am of the greatest prosperity, my oneness with God. Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap, nor gather into barns. And yet, your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? Matthew 6:26.
One with the statement of being, because to me that encompasses really why we're all here, and that is to realize and live that divine presence that is in every one of us, just like the choir sang. And so let's start with that. God is all, both invisible and visible, one presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am an individualized expression of God. I am one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. Thank you for sharing that with me, because, and I hope that each one of you remember that. I mean, those of us who have been attending Unity churches for years, especially in this area, remember that from as far back as I remember Unity churches, which was in the 70s. So I'm revealing a little bit about how old I am. Oh well. So because that, I use one line out of that. I am an individualized expression of God many, many times over every day. And when we start living from that knowledge, that's what makes all the difference in our lives. And as Linda mentioned, we are in the process, in the almost middle of a prosperity series. And we've entitled it A Holistic Approach to Prosperity, because we all know that prosperity isn't just about money, right? Prosperity is about body, mind, and spirit. Today we're going to be talking about body, and we're blessed to have our licensed Unity teacher, Linda Ridley, who is a retired nurse, that is going to be heading up that class for us today. So it's going to be very informative, and each one of these classes weaves into the other, because our lives are not lived in compartments. We're not human one day and spirit another day. We are divinely human and humanly divine. And again, I love the way the universe works, because the universe has this uncanny ability of just weaving things together so miraculously. I mean, how the heck did the universe know that we were going to be doing a prosperity series right now and make prosperity the word of the day? How did it do that? I mean, I don't know how far in advance these things are written or printed, but that's a pretty interesting coincidence now, isn't it? And those coincidences, there's a series of books out there called God Winks, and I have taken to calling these interesting little coincidences God Winks. You know, in my opinion, God has a tremendously great sense of humor. And sometimes it's a little dry, but most of the time it's just fun. And isn't, you know, come on, isn't fun just fun? I mean, it's fun to laugh, it's fun to, well, depending on what you like to do. I love to read. To me, it's fun to read. And so, when we're talking about a holistic approach to prosperity, we're talking about making all areas of our life fun, including the financial, and we're going to get to that. But today we're going to be talking about physical prosperity, so I hope you can make it to that class. And one of the quotations that we've used in every class so far, and I have a feeling it might sneak its way in today too, is from Unity minister and author Eric Butterworth. Now, in the metropolitan Detroit area, we may know of Detroit Unity Temple, which is a beautiful church, fairly large church, And it was founded by Unity Minister Eric Butterworth. And Eric Butterworth has this to say about prosperity. Prosperity is not just having things. It is the consciousness, not just our minds, but our mind, body, spirit. That's our consciousness is the whole of that. It is the consciousness that attracts the things. Prosperity is a way of living and thinking. And of course, along with thinking, that thinking generates feelings, and those feelings are what really gets the creative juices flowing, so to speak. And it's not just about having money or things. And this is the interesting, I find this last sentence of this quote interesting as well. Poverty is a way of living and thinking, and not just a lack of money or things. So that's why Linda and I chose a holistic approach to prosperity. Because it's not just about money. In fact, money comes when you get the other stuff right. That's the way it works. So in preparing for the prosperity classes and in preparing for this talk, I do a ton of research. And one of the things that one of my resources was a book written by Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore entitled, what else? Prosperity. And in it, the title of the third chapter is this: Faith, the invisible substance, the key to demonstration. So, Anita's little logical brain, I gotta get on water. Anita's little logical brain said, faith is a key to demonstration. January, the power of the month is faith. I haven't talked about that yet because we did Burning Bull and White Stone and, we've had other things going on. So what a great fit to talk about faith and prosperity. Again, that's the way the universe works. So the apostle representing faith is the Apostle Peter. Now, Peter's kind of an interesting dude because Peter is the rock on which the church was founded, and we could do a whole session on why he was a really unusual choice for that. However, we're going to take a little look at it metaphysically. And Peter is the rock on which the church, quote unquote church, in the Bible that's what it says, is founded. Now, the church, according to Charles Fillmore, is all the spiritual ideas in our individual consciousnesses. Consciousnesses? What's the right word? And Fillmore goes on to say that a new consciousness is required, and this consciousness needs to understand the beingness of God, all that is, as spirit, and not just understanding that it's spirit, but understanding it lives not just out here in the world, but in and through us. In fact, I like to think of it as Jesus said that we are God's hands and feet. We are the individualized expressions of that divinity. Now, isn't that, if you look at yourself as an individualized expression of the divine, if you looked at yourself like that all the time, wouldn't you have an awfully hard time being mean to yourself, belittling yourself, doubting yourself? As humans, go through that. We doubt ourselves. We belittle ourselves. We forget that we are individualized expressions of the one. And when we forget that, then we do dumb human things. So what we're working on, not just in this prosperity class, but in unity churches around the world, is helping people to change their consciousness so that they see in themselves what the divine sees in them. Because I am an individualized expression of God. I am ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, perfect substance. But we don't always remember that, do we? So we all have faith. It's innate in everyone. The question is, where's your faith going? Where's the focus of your faith? And that's what we have to learn. We learn to focus our faith where it best serves us. And we begin by starting to pay attention to our thoughts. You know, it was probably not long after I started attending a Unity church that I started actually paying attention to my thoughts. I was in my 20s, and you would think, you know, I have a granddaughter who, I almost said daughter, boy, don't I wish. Anyway, I have a granddaughter who will turn 21 on the 3rd of March. Now, I love my granddaughter dearly, and she knows everything. All you have to do is ask her. And I'm pretty sure that when I was that age, I knew everything too. Because at that point in time of our lives, we don't know what we don't know. And so, what we have come to learn, what I have come to learn, by attending Unity churches is it begins with my thinking, so I better start paying attention to what I'm thinking. And when I did, I was a little shocked, quite frankly, because I had always thought of myself, and I still do, as a very kind person. And the things that I was saying to Anita about Anita were less than kind. They were not, some of them were downright ugly and mean. You know, the Mean Girls movies. Well, Anita was being a mean girl to Anita. And when I started paying attention to the way I was speaking to myself, and I began to understand how powerful my thoughts were, and how my thoughts were reflected in the other people around me, so that if I was being mean to Anita, that meant, I used to always say, I would never be, I'm never mean to people. Well, I was never mean to people I didn't know very well. But the truth of the matter was, the people that got the worst of it were the people I loved the most. Anybody ever notice that? So what we learned is that we can only give what's inside us to give. I love Wayne Dyer's, visuals really help me. And one of the things that Wayne Dyer always said, and I'm sure he didn't come up with it, was, if you squeeze a lemon, what are you going to get out of it? Lemon juice, right? You're not going to squeeze a lemon and get orange juice. Because you can only get outside what is inside. And to me, that visual, that metaphor made so much sense. So if I'm being mean to myself, it runs over into being mean to my family, and occasionally, when I would get very bent out of shape, so to speak, mean to whoever happened to be in the room at the time. Wrong place, wrong time, sorry. So, but that's what we're learning here in Unity. We're learning that we put our faith in good. Another little saying that I've learned over the years, and I have no idea where it came from. Maybe it was Lake Orion Unity, I'm not sure. It might have been Reverend Dice. And look for the good. Look for the good. Everybody knows the Bible verse, asking you will be answered, seeking you will find, knocking the door will be open, right? Everybody knows that verse. But do you put it into practice? Because what that verse tells us is that, especially the seeking you will find part fits here, and that is, if we're looking for the good, what do we tend to find? The good.
Right.
Yes, the good. Has anyone ever known anyone who was like, well, if anything can go wrong, it will? What do you think is happening in that person's life? My guess is there's a few things going wrong. Because we get what we focus on. Where we focus our thoughts is what we bring into our lives. So if we don't know what we're thinking, if we don't pay attention to our thoughts, then we don't have control over our thoughts. You know why? Because somebody else has been programming those thoughts into our minds since we were babies. And we had years and years and years of someone telling us, oh, you can't do that. And we bought into it, too many of us. But now what I'm suggesting is that we buy into a different story. We buy into the story that Jesus Christ told, and that was, these things I do, you shall do also, and greater things. Instead of telling ourselves we can't and we're not able, we need to change our thoughts to I can do all things through that power and presence that lives in and through me. And when we really start to get that, then that prosperity in all areas of our lives will manifest itself. You will not be able to stop it from manifesting. So I think it was someone in this room said that I am experiencing so much good, it's beginning to look a little bit like clutter. And what a problem to have, right? Might want to come to the image book workshop and find out how you can have that experience. That's in a couple of weeks, a few weeks, I don't know exactly. Anyway, so what we're doing is we're working on building our prosperity consciousness. All of this stuff, you know, being nice to yourself, isn't being nice to yourself part of prosperity? Don't you think? Isn't having fun part of prosperity? Sure, the money is important, and the money will come. And I believe in tithing. And I'm not, you know, it's like, I guess, when it comes to tithing, I tithe, and I believe that we all should be tithing. However, I resisted it for a long time, and part of the reason I resisted it is because I felt like every time I went to church, there was some preacher standing up there in the front telling me, if I don't tithe, I'm not going to have stuff. If I'm not going to have money, I'm not going to have enough because I don't tithe. And I allowed it to push me away. And so I don't talk about it a lot. However, think about it in relationship to what you have inside is what you get back. So if you're not a giving person, and that's, yes, okay, I can give my time. It doesn't cost me anything. I can give my talents because it doesn't really cost me anything. But giving of my money, ooh, that's a whole different thing. Right? Think about it. Because if that's the area where you're worried and concerned and holding back, guess which area of your life is going to bring you worry and concern and hold back from you? Just saying. So, because the difference, it doesn't really matter what's happening. Maybe some people think that you join a unity church and oh, that's that new thought, everything's going to be rosy, you're going to get rich, blah, blah, blah church. We're not. We are you have a choice in what happens in your life. You have control. Of course, there are things we cannot control. We cannot control the weather. We cannot. I almost got in an accident on the way here today because some less than intelligent person decided that it was a good idea to go out driving without taking the snow off of their side windows. And so when I was driving along at the speed limit, this car with his driver's side window completely covered with snow pulled out in front of me about from here to the doorway. Thank goodness I got good brakes because I was able to avoid them. But that's the thing, stuff is going to happen. And even if I would have gotten into an accident, you know what I would have thought? Gee, it's a good thing the front end of Mom's car's already got a little messed up on it because this way I can get it fixed. It's not what happens, it's how we choose to respond to what happens. And where do you think that choice comes from? It comes from our consciousness. And where does our consciousness come from? It comes from teaching it and training it. Because, excuse me, we have not been taught and trained from the time we were children to love ourselves and be kind and look for the good in all situations. I wish we had. And maybe there are some fortunate people who have, but the vast majority of us, sorry. We got to figure it out for ourselves. And so that's what we're here to do. We are here to figure out how we can take control of our own lives and make our lives better. And isn't that what we all want, really? And it comes from faith, and it comes from knowing these principles and using them. Because one of the things that really, I think that people forget about in unity, or any church really, is you don't go to church for what you hear on Sunday morning. You go to church for what you take with you into the world. What you take into your life. There is nothing either good or bad, but our thinking makes it so. And that was written by Shakespeare. That's a line from Hamlet. In other words, when we're facing a challenging situation, which we will, we do every day, we can take that challenging situation and we can look for the good in it, and we can say, you know what? Right now, at this moment, this sucks. I don't like it. It doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't make me happy. In fact, I'm a little bit angry. And it's okay to feel those things. We're not saying that life is going to be hunky-dory and you're just going to be Susie Sunshine all the time. It just doesn't work that way. But what you can say is it sucks right now, but you know what? I know that there's going to be something good that comes from this. I don't know exactly when, and I don't know exactly what, but I do know that God is good all the time, and all things are working together for my highest good. And those are the things I tell myself all the time. All the time. These, instead of the money doesn't grow on trees thing that mom and dad told you from the time you were 3, change it. Change it. I can do all things through Christ who is my strength. Change it. I am an individualized expression of God. Adopt new sayings about yourself. And it takes practice. It takes time. But I can do all things. I'm sorry, I got off the track. Anyway, I've had a couple of great little stories that I've kind of lost track of, but I do want to share one with you. And there was, and I'm just giving them names. I got this out of never mind. Anyway, Joe was an attorney. Now, Joe makes really good money. He earns over $750,000 a year. Pretty good chunk of change, right? And he and his family live in this big, gorgeous, beautiful house in a very prestigious neighborhood. He drives all the newest, probably one of the most expensive cars you could possibly drive. And he's very well respected by his colleagues. So he's doing really, really well, right? Very prosperous. Well, as you might get, there's more to the story. Joe works 60, 70, sometimes 80 hours a week. He very rarely gets to his 2 school-age children. He very rarely gets to go to any of their activities. He hasn't seen his kid play baseball or basketball or any of the sports that his son does. And his daughter is in dance class, but he never goes to any of her recitals because he doesn't have time. And then, to make matters worse, he's actually living paycheck to paycheck. Because his house payment is huge, his car payment is huge, all the lessons and activities and things that the kids are into, the private schools, the this, the that. He just, he knows if he wasn't working this hard, the whole house of cards would just crumble. Is he happy with his life? Not really. And then there's Bill. Bill has always liked to fix things. And so when he got a job as a maintenance man, it was a perfect fit. He really enjoys what he's doing, and he's really good at it. He only earns a fraction of what Joe makes. And his car, it's over 5 years old, had a couple rust spots on it. But it runs good, and he's got a friend who's a mechanic, so he does okay with it. His family has a small home, but it's big enough. And it's comfortable. The neighborhood's modest, but he likes his neighbors, and they get together for backyard barbecues and stuff. And on top of that, the car's paid off, and he can see the light at the end of the tunnel when his house is going to be paid off too. And the shift that Bill works is a different one. He works from 4 o'clock in the morning and gets off at noon. And he likes it, actually, because when he gets home, it's only a couple hours before the kids come home from school. And he can help them with their homework. He can go out in the yard and go catch He can spend time, he can go to their games. He can be a dad who's involved in his children's life. And because he likes to fix things, he's got an old car sitting in the garage, and he's fixing that up, and that's going to be his Woodward Dream Cruise car. And he loves doing that too. And Bill and his wife, they go on a weekly date night. It's kind of like the country song, Applebee's on a date night. So it's not a five-star fancy restaurant, but they really enjoy their time together. And even with the relatively small income they have, they're still able to put a little bit away for the kids' education and for their retirement. Is Bill happy with his life? You betcha. You know, if you look at the daily word, it says, feeling safe and secure in who I am is prosperity. Knowing I am gloriously made in the image of God is priceless. Realizing the abundance of the natural world and partaking of it is a gift. All of these are wonderful reminders I reside in the kingdom of heaven. So let's remember, not just when we're at church, not just when we're in a holistic approach to prosperity session, but remember every day that we are individualized expressions of God, able to do all things, and you really can. I love y'all. Namaste. Now it's time for our meditation. So I want you to take this message and really think about it. Really take it into your heart and mind. Close your eyes if you wish. Definitely relax. Just feel all the tension, all the worry, all the cares and concerns that you might have. Just drift away. Drift away like a leaf floating down a stream or a cloud passing through a beautiful blue sky. And take a few deep breaths and just feel that calm, that relaxation move through you. And know that the place that you are now residing in is heaven. It is the place where your heart and mind and spirit all come together to reassure you that you are indeed an individualized expression of God. You can do all things. We live in an abundant universe, and it is just ready and waiting to bring into your life whatever it is you want. And it's going to bring you what it is you focus on. So we start working on ourselves, remembering who we really are, giving as we have been given to so generously, and knowing that it is all there for us, and being so very, very grateful. And we know with that divine presence, all things are possible. And for that, we again give our thanks and know it is so, and so it is. And now it is the time for our tithes and offerings. And, you know, I think I've said it all. What we give comes back. And we appreciate you, each one of you, a great deal. And know, as you give, so will you receive. So let's take our gift in our hand and say together,
Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
I give joyfully and easily, for the universe is my source, and abundance is my nature. And now we will have another selection from our wonderful choir. Okay, the announcements that we have. Don't forget, we at 11:45, we have our holistic approach to prosperity right after the service. Also, don't forget the image workshop is coming up on February 12th. Several people have asked about creating a workshop again for this type of thing. So that would be right after service on February 12th. Also, biggie, Love is the Way with the Sound of Music, our concert on Friday, February 10th at 6:30. Our intermission will have refreshments. Also, we'll have a 50/50 drawing. Tickets are $10 in advance and $12 at the door. Don't forget, if you have a few minutes after service, to give the kitchen a little help to for snacks and things like that, and clean up. The kitchen help is also always appreciated. And don't forget the prayer circle with Reverend Anita on Zoom on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. Okay, if you want to circle up for peace song.
Peace
Let's say a prayer of protection together. Let
The light of God surrounds us. The light